Who? Mark.
You guys know what pain is? I'll tell you what pain is. Pain is recording a beautiful 14-minute long video with all of your points articulated perfectly, exporting it, and then having it completely deleted from your hard drive while you're fasting. So I can only hope I can replicate that here. So if you guys want to make me feel better and smash the like button for the YouTube algorithm too, I don't know. So at least my effort isn't completely wasted. I'm literally fasting here. So what's going on, guys? Your boy TheFlightMike here, and I was doing some research on the Los Angeles Clippers recently, and if you guys happen to follow me on Twitter, a lot of Laker fans would be absolutely frustrated with the fact that I'm consistently defending the Los Angeles Clippers. I am on a consistent basis talking about how this team is by far the most perfectly constructed team from top to bottom. They're deeper than the Lakers. Their coaching just makes a little bit more sense than the Lakers, and Doc Rivers has been to 2 NBA finals. He has extensive experience as a coach. He's also a player's coach, and although Frank Vogel's a great coach in his own right, if I had to pick between one or the other in terms of who is the more experienced coach and who I would want to be coaching me during the NBA Finals, I would go with Doc Rivers. But there's a lot of other factors at play here when I'm comparing the Clippers to the Lakers, and there's one glaring problem that the Clippers have that the Lakers don't have that I just had to bring to your attention. Now, before we get to the meat of the content, guys, I wanted to give you guys a little bit of an announcement. I'm sure you guys know that we have this one crazy murder documentary dropping on Saturday on Lorenzen Wright. It's one of the best pieces of content we've ever made. We've been doing a lot of these on my football channel, and my football channel subscribers seem to love them, so I figured I'd bring them to the basketball channel. If you want to set a reminder for that, it's in the description down below. But even more importantly, I drop about 2 to 3 TikToks a day, guys, and they all have to do with basketball rankings and NBA history. And I know some of you guys might not have TikTok, but if you do, I'm telling you, follow me on TikTok. You will be very happy that you did it. There's great content over there. On top of that, I'm giving away multiple copies of NBA 2K21 on Twitter and Instagram. Links to that's in the description down below. And I live stream on Twitch on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Sundays at 9 p.m. Pacific time. Now that that's out of the way, cue the intro. Mic check 1 2 1 2. What's going on, everybody? Today we're going to be discussing the Clippers versus the Lakers, and there's one glaring thing that the Clippers are missing that the Lakers have, and I wouldn't give the Lakers the upper hand over the Clippers in terms of who's the most likely to make it to the NBA Finals, but there's just one issue that just popped out at me that I just had to bring to your attention. Now, if you look at the Los Angeles Lakers roster really quickly, you would notice an interesting trend. LeBron James has been to 9 NBA Finals, and he's won 3 of those 9 NBA Finals, but regardless, he's been to 9 NBA Finals. If you look at Anthony Davis, sure, 0 NBA Finals. J.R. Smith has been to, I believe, 3 NBA Finals and has won 1 of those. Dwight Howard has been to 1 NBA Finals and lost. Rajon Rondo has been to 2 NBA Finals and has won 1 of those. And Danny Green has been to 3 NBA Finals, has won 2 of those, and mind you, he's done that as the teammate of Kawhi Leonard. Now, of course, JaVale McGee has been to 2 NBA Finals, I want to say, and has won both of those, if I am correct. Let me know in the comments if I'm incorrect about that. Now, the one thing that is glaringly obvious to me that this was an argument that as a Laker fan I used to ignore in the past, because I was like, okay, I feel like what the Lakers have here is something the Clippers can attain over the span of a regular season, and the Clippers are just constructed way better than the Lakers. And even now, I still feel that way. The Lakers, if you look at the Lakers bench mob, they have players like Dion Waiters and J.R. Smith and Of course, I think Alex Caruso's a stud, but I haven't seen how he performs in the playoffs. The only thing the Lakers kind of have over the Clippers is I'd say that their centers and their rim protection are pretty freaking good, considering how you have Dwight Howard and JaVale McGee. But the Clippers have an absolutely terrifying problem, and it's a problem that I actually was ignoring in the past, but it became exasperated as the NBA restarted. Now, it's not just experience. I'm expanding upon experience. Experience is just a part of them, and of course, feel free to grill me in the comment section for any of these arguments, especially one that I'm about to make. Kawhi Leonard has been to, I think, 3 NBA Finals and has won 2 of those NBA Finals with Danny Green on his side. Paul George has not been to an NBA Finals. Lou Williams hasn't. Montrezl Harrell hasn't. Patrick Beverley hasn't. Joakim Noah hasn't. Pretty much the only player on the Clippers that has had extensive NBA Finals experience is Kawhi Leonard. And honestly, I feel like if you have one guy that's been there with a head coach that's been there, when your best player and your head coach has been there, I think that's more than what you need, especially when you have a vocal leader like Doc Rivers and I guess Kawhi Leonard according to his teammates. But there's an even bigger problem than that. You see, Kawhi Leonard and Paul George haven't had tremendous experience playing with one another. And that's fine, of course. There's times where teams go through injury issues. And when I think of a team that's gone through extensive injury issues, I think of the Mike D'Antoni inaugural year with the Los Angeles Lakers, aka Dwight Howard and Kobe Bryant and Steve Nash and Pau Gasol's only year together. Throughout the season, there were a ton of injuries from the very beginning. Dwight Howard had back issues. And then, of course, later on, Kobe tore his Achilles trying to right a broken ship. And you can make the argument that that sapped valuable years of productivity from Kobe, because after that, he wasn't really the same. Once you tear your Achilles as a scorer that's supposed to be uber athletic, you're no longer going to be the same player. And I'm not saying that's about to happen to one of the Clippers. That's absolutely ludicrous. What I'm saying is you could have all of the great pieces on a team, but if they don't play together, then you're going to have a huge problem. And originally I thought, okay, the NBA has been off for about 3.5 months, which is pretty much the exact period of time from the end of a typical NBA Finals, the end of June, till the beginning of an NBA season, maybe a little bit less. Typically the NBA season starts in like mid to late October, ends at the end of June, and that's it. You have like 3.5 months between that before the season starts again. And for the first time ever, we're getting a scenario where we have that break in the midst of a NBA season right before the NBA playoffs. So I'm not expecting crazy, grueling playoff basketball as a result of it. But the one thing I am expecting is for the players to use the scrimmages and the seeding games to try to become as acclimated to each other as possible. And I feel like if there's a team that really, really needed that more than any other team, it's the Los Angeles Clippers. If you take a look at this, the Clippers have had Lou Williams, Paul George, Kawhi Leonard, Montrezl Harrell, all of their team, their entire phenomenally constructed team, their team that has 4 20-point per game scorers, that have great two-way defenders like Patrick Beverley and Paul George and Kawhi Leonard. They've all played together for about 12 games. That is a problem. You're about to go to war with these people. 12 games is not enough to play with each other. That's probably their biggest issue yet. Let me make it clear, I'm a Laker fan that thinks the Clippers have been built way better than the Lakers. And throughout the season, I was saying, okay, they might be injured now, but I don't think they're going to be injured in the playoffs. And especially once there was some time for Paul George to recover, because I know he was dealing with injury issues in the beginning of the season, I felt like, oh my God, they're really about to have Lou Williams, Paul George, Kawhi Leonard, Patrick Beverley, Montrezl Harrell, Marcus Morris, this extremely deep team that probably has the best bench in the entire NBA, by the way, is going to be at full strength, being coached by a defensive-minded coach that's had success in the NBA Finals. And I've tweeted it time and time again, I felt like the Clippers are better than the Lakers. And this is as a Laker fan. But then there's another issue at hand. And it's like an issue that the Lakers have, but I'd say probably times like 1,000, because while the Lakers did lose Avery Bradley and they had to bring in J.R. Smith and Markieff Morris and they brought in Dion Waiters to try to mitigate the loss of Rajon Rondo, replacing Rajon Rondo for the Lakers isn't nearly as big as not being at full strength for the Clippers and only playing about 12 games with each other. So let's take a look at this. The scrimmages have started, and this is probably the one point I'm going to make that is probably going to get scrutinized the most, and I could already see you guys going nuts in the comment section. Kawhi Leonard has been playing terribly in the bubble scrimmages. He's had just over 10 points per game, 26% from the field, and 22% from three. And I can already hear the Clipper fans, Mike, load management, do you think Kawhi Leonard really cares about scrimmages? Well, when you've had 3.5 months to load manage and you have an opportunity to try to get back into a groove with your teammates, especially teammates that have not had the opportunity to play with each other very much, then yes, you're not really load managing through exhibition games anymore, especially when you've had all that time to not play basketball. But even furthermore, there's an even bigger issue at hand. Montrezl Harrell, not available, left the bubble, came back. We don't know when Montrezl Harrell's going to be ready. Lou Williams left the bubble to attend to a funeral. On his way back, stopped at Magic City, picked up some chicken wings, said what's poppin' to Jack Harlow, got onto Instagram, and now he has to quarantine for 10 days. That, in of itself, is a huge issue. So now you have these seeding games, right? And Lou Williams isn't going to be available for a lot of them. Patrick Beverley might be available within the next couple of days. He's not playing, though, for as far as we're concerned. And you have a huge part of your bench that is missing now. Lou Williams, Montrezl Harrell, Patrick Beverley, all missing. Huge contributors for the Los Angeles Clippers. A mere 2.5 weeks away from the NBA playoffs, right when you're the second seed, and you're a game and a half ahead of the Denver Nuggets, which, by the way, are absolutely exploding on headlines due to them finding a secret weapon in Bol Bol that wouldn't have been available to begin with, but is now available because he had some time to recover from his injury and can actually be a difference maker in the NBA playoffs based off of his experience in the seeding games. So now you have to potentially stop a 7'2" center forward or point center or whatever the hell you want to call Bol Bol, a matchup nightmare nonetheless, and you have a bunch of problems at hand. So the Clippers originally were considered a foregone conclusion to be the second seed in the West. I think they might even drop down to a third seed in the West because, again, you don't have your top bench scorer in Lou Williams. You don't have your scoring power forward in Montrezl Harrell. You don't have Patrick Beverley for some time. By the time they come back, you're going to have to get used to integrating them into the offense once again. And at first, I was completely ignoring this. I didn't think it was that big of a deal. But as time goes on and you're getting closer and closer to the playoffs, those minutes spent together are so important, building up your team chemistry. Now, I know I think the Clippers are a better team than the Lakers in terms of how they were constructed on paper, but the Lakers have had a ton of games where they played together. Dude, you have JaVale McGee freaking vlogging. Look at how they look when they're vlogging. Okay, they're comfortable with each other. They're happy. They're excited. They have tremendous experience. They all know, most of them knows what needs to be done to win a championship. J.R. Smith has had his gaffes in the NBA Finals. I doubt he's going to try to do that again. At the end of the day, I do think the Clippers are a much better built team than the Lakers, but you can't discount the fact that LeBron and Anthony Davis have been playing together for a while now. Dwight Howard knows his role and knows what he needs to bring to the table. Avery Bradley is an important two-way defender. He's not there, sure. Alex Caruso, though, knows that he needs to step up. Now, I'm not saying it's not like Paul George isn't absolutely juiced and isn't going to listen to Kawhi Leonard and doesn't know what needs to be done in order to beat the Lakers. I understand Paul George and LeBron have had their battles in the early 2010s, and there's nothing that Paul George would like to do than beat his former head coach and LeBron James in the NBA playoffs this season. But bro, when you discount, I feel like at this point, it might be a little too late. And the fact that Lou Williams, Montrezl Harrell, and Patrick Beverley are out for the foreseeable future might just add insult to injury. But this is up for debate. I wanted to get your guys' comments in the comment section down below. For all you know, this could age terribly, and the Clippers could win each and every one of their games. I just don't think that's very likely. Well, let me know what you guys think, and make sure you guys set a reminder for our Lorenzen Wright murder mystery. Follow us on TikTok and enter our NBA 2K21 giveaways. I'm your boy, TheFlightMike, and I'll catch you guys in our next upload.